Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. This is Talking to Myself, the moment of the day where I just sit down, talk to myself, and go over things that I thought about while either laying in bed or just throughout my day. Today is Saturday. Thank you to all 140 people that are subscribed to me at the time of me making this. I truly do appreciate it. At the same time, I got to have a lot of fun today. Me and my fiance went and we had some amazing tacos and burritos from a couple amazing places in San Antonio. And yeah, it was a great day. I got to bring my camera along, got a few snaps of my beautiful, beautiful fiance, a little couple architecture, some things here and there, but I really didn't even take that many shots with my camera today. I had the 35 1.4 back on there, and I had a lot of fun with it. I will not be showing any more than a couple photos of it, just because apparently when I do start putting any kind of photos up as references to photos that I've taken with a lens, anytime I mention that lens or any other lens, I then get people bitching about how I should put up sample photos, which some of you are fine. I understand it, because some of them I don't put up sample photos. Some of you are just kind of just douchey about it. Which once again, I'm not a reviewer, and I'm not going to change the way that I do things to please people. Everyone makes different content. There are over 50 videos that I looked at on pages 1, 2, and 3 of the YouTube algorithm, where you can go and find just straight photos of examples for the 35 1.4 and examples for the 18 f2 and examples for the TT Artisan 51.2, the 90 f2, all that stuff. There are a million videos of that where you can go and look up those sample images. And all the same way, there are about 20 off the top of my head that I looked, or that I can remember seeing images on for all of those from certain websites, whether it be DP Review, whether it be Alec Griffin, whether there's just a lot of areas and avenues where you can get all the information you need and see your sample photos. And when you own this lens, or any of the lenses that I ever talk about, you don't need my sample photos to be able to make you, agree with the fact that you own this lens. It's just weird. I've got some weird comments between Leica owners trying to justify why the analog fill on a digital camera is reason enough to spend $8,000 on a body. It's dumbfounding to me, to be honest, but I'm going to be a little bit more blunt with people, especially those in the camera community. And if you already own one of the lenses that or any YouTuber or anyone who writes a review is speaking of, you don't need sample images, because you should be the person who shoots with that lens to get your sample images. It is very, very simple. You don't need a review after you own something. You can watch it for your entertainment. I do that all the time. I still watch X Pro 3 reviews just to see people have tips and tricks and just to hear, what they're saying in the background. But you don't need me to help you. Now, it's different when it's someone who hasn't purchased it, which on any video which I've called a review, I've had sample images. I may talk about stuff more than give sample images, but that is how I do things. And you don't have to subscribe. You don't have to watch my videos. You can block me. Listen, don't be a douchebag on people's videos, because it just comes off as really, really weird, especially if you say, I own this lens and love it, but I don't like reviews like this. Too much yapping. I would have liked sample images. I don't know what you're looking for, man. I've got a portfolio, I got a website, I've got an Instagram. You can go check out any of those. And the same thing goes for Leica owners. Listen, you guys have to stop saying it's always Fujifilm owners comparing Leica to Fujifilm. That's not true, because if you look Leica versus Fujifilm, every single one of those guys owns a Leica camera, and they've shot with a Fujifilm that they've gotten from Moment, that they've gotten from Fuji, whoever, just to try it out as far as a campaign program. So, don't be upset at me because I'm just calling out what's obvious. There is not a $6,000 difference between the X Pro 3 and the Leica M10 to me, and to a lot of people. There's not a $6,000 difference in how good that camera feels to justify the price. And I'm just being honest. And as Leica users, I can understand that if it was priced a little bit lower, then everyone would own a Leica, and that would take away from the prestige of owning a Leica. So I get why you wouldn't want it to drop, but I would just think that if you're someone who just does it to be creative and because you love the tools, you would probably want the price of the lenses and the bodies to drop more towards what they're actually worth in regards to what they're getting you. Now the SL2 and those and cameras like that, they give a lot of features. I don't think they're, you know, as great as some other full frame cameras out there, but I mean, still, it's more justifiable for those because of features they have on it. But the, you know, whenever it comes to M10 and the Q2 and things like that, I just don't think that's a realistically priced camera. Body, lens, that whole setup, I'm fine with the lenses being priced what they are because they're amazing. But I just can't, I would never be able to understand, and I have shot with a Leica, I will never be able to understand the desire for that. And even more when people do compare Leica to Fujifilm, I will never understand why you guys intentionally skip over the CL series Leicas, which is their APS-C, which isn't a true rangefinder, which has autofocus, which can record video. You intentionally skip over that camera when it comes to comparing the two, which is disingenuous and kind of just weird. But anyway, that's something that I was thinking about, because literally right before I got on, I was going to make an extra video, but I had people who are just, you know, like throwing a fit in the comments because I didn't have sample images. And yeah, if I don't choose to put up sample images, you know, it's probably because what I'm telling you isn't a review, or I've already done a review of something, and so I have a video with sample images, and I have videos with sample images. So yeah, it's funny. It's funny. Another thing I'm been thinking about is you know, I can't wait for my TT Artisans 50mm 1.2 to come out, but I'm looking at all these the rumors going out. Potential Canon R1, the new Nikon that's going to blow everything out of the water, their mirrorless camera, the coming of the XH2, and I'm pretty excited for cameras just in general. You know, I'm more and more excited for the Canon and the Nikon to come out than I am Fujifilm, because I really do think that I like the fact that there's a chance that those two are going to gain up even more on Sony, because it's going to push Sony to do even better. Because so far, what really Sony's been hanging their hat on has been the filming quality of the A7S III, which is great in low light, but at the same time, I hear from people, I actually know a guy in the city of New Braunfels who uses 2 Panasonic full frame cameras to do all of his video recording, and he told me he's tested out a lot of cameras, and he said those Panasonics blow a lot of cameras out of the water, and he personally thinks that they do a better job in low light than the A7S III. His words, not mine, but he prefers those Panasonic cameras. Then when it comes to the other thing that Sony's really been hanging their hat on is their autofocus, and it's going to be a good thing whenever Sony and Nikon catch up, and I think Sony has a chance to really catch up with them with this next camera. The reason why it's going to be so fantastic if they're able to catch up with their autofocus is because Sony won't be able to hang their hat on that anymore. And if you take those two things away from Sony, that's what gets people to be build new things, to be innovative, to push further in cameras, which in turn will help out people that shoot in APS-C. It'll make, because Fujifilm, even at APS-C, is always putting themselves up against Canon, Nikon, and Sony intentionally. They're always coming out, they're trying to make their release dates around other release dates. They're intentional about it to try to get a piece of people that would be full frame users into APS-C. And so that means Fujifilm will have to step up their autofocus game. They'll have to step up their game with a lot of things, with what they can do in continuous shooting and etc. You know, it's good for everyone. It's good for everyone when companies do these great things. You know, with Fujifilm even more, there's some announcements coming up, you know, about their autofocus, and the things they're able to do with medium format right now is pretty amazing for what it is. And so me, as someone who never thought I'd be able to jump into medium format, with it being around $4,000, I can get a body, and for about $5,000-$6,000 I can get myself into a nice medium format kit. That might be something that I look at down the road if I continue to do stuff. I've got some people now messaging me because you know, inquiries about you know, graduation photos, engagement photos, headshots and things like that. So things are starting to roll and get a little bit better. But you know, you never know. If I get back into just shooting portraits and product photography, it'd be pretty cool with being able to just focus on that and get a camera that goes towards that, and then be able to consolidate my gear again. So not that I have too much gear, I'll probably always keep the X Pro 3. The X100T is probably always going to be here. I love the lenses I have, the 18f2, the 35 1.4, I'm getting the 55 1.2, but those first two lenses will probably never leave again. But it's always the thought that, like, not only can I move up to a different system, which would just be medium format, still Fujifilm, but I can afford it. And that's a pretty nice thing to think about, because I could actually afford any system. If I wanted to go out and get a M10 or an MP or anything like that, or like a CL, or even like a Q2, I could go out and do that. I'm fortunate enough to where I could go out and spend the money and do that. And if I wanted to get an EOS R6 with a couple of nice lenses, that might hurt me too, but I could afford to do that. And it's just about the fact that you have things that are available to you, because medium format from full frame, from what I've seen personally, and then from things that I've watched, it is a giant jump. And to me, it is a 10 times larger jump than APS-C to full frame. For as many benefits they say full frame gets you extra out of being over APS-C, it is about 10 times the jump of that from full frame to medium format, and even more. It's about 5 times the jump from micro four thirds to full frame. So that's just some things that I think about going through it. I've been shooting I shot a lot today with Kodachrome 64. That was the film simulation I shot the most with. I might put a couple of photos up just because I think my fiance looks totally beautiful, and I like the way they came out in my JPEGs. And yeah, she even grabbed the camera and took a couple snaps of me. I just got some, just some environment shots and things like that, of like a menu and a couple houses with some palm trees by it, and like the side of a building. Nothing where I was actually trying and actually cared about. The only photos I cared about today were the photos of her. And everything else that I did basically was just me saying, oh, you know what, I'm here, I might as well take a photo of this. Let me see what I can make out of this composition. But I didn't really move around or put too much into it, because I was happy with and content with what I had already gotten and where I was at for the day. And so, it's fine. The Kodachrome 64 film simulation, the film simulations that I've really been digging recently and that I've been sitting on my camera, like now I feel like I've really got the ones down. That Portra 400 is nice, and it's nice when you're outside and it's bright. I mean, it's not my favorite, but it stays on there just because that was the first one I ever tried out. I'm not a Portra 400 guy. When I shot film, I didn't really gravitate towards that. I gravitated towards Kodak Gold and Superia, just because I just felt like it was something different than what I had seen. My grandfather shot a lot on Superia and on Ultramax, but I really liked Gold and I really liked Superia. But the ones that I've been really gravitating towards are, of course, the Ilford HP5 and the Tri-X 400. Both those black and whites I think look fantastic. I really do love those. I love the way the Ilford HP5 though just sits and just really creates the grain around people's faces in these digital cameras. Superior 1600 again is something that I just keep going back to. I love the way that it just makes you look. I think it makes you look angelic and beautiful. So I love that film simulation. And then Kodachrome 64 has been one of my favorite ones that I've been hitting up, and it just does a lot depending on the time of day. And around golden hour at that Kodachrome 64, I think that's where it shines, especially because my fiance's Latina, and so from her hair to her skin to her brown eyes, I feel like it really just accentuates everything. And so I love it, man. I really love the way that some of these look today. I really love them. And so all the photos of her are great, but there's they're really fantastic today. So I really enjoyed that. And I'm actually looking at hopefully maybe messing around and finishing up the presets, because I'm trying to make presets that match these different film simulations. It's kind of tough because depending on how much light and exposure you have, these presets don't move in the same way that you do on your JPEG. So they don't adjust the way that these film simulations adjust. Because they're usually built off of classic chrome or classic negative or classic neg, they don't adjust to the exposure the same way they do in the JPEG form. So you really have to kind of tinker even after you put them on there. And so I'm trying to work on it towards just messing with the exposure slider will help it out and fix it. But the issue I'm having is that if you want something to be underexposed and grungy, whenever I'm making these presets, because I've got about, let me see, about 4 or 5. I've got Kodachrome, I've got Cinestill 800T, Portra 400, and Superior 1600. And I was working on Ilford HP5, but then I was like, okay, that's kind of you know, dumb to work on that one, because I could just do it, just use the Acros and work from there and just add grain. But they do well, but it's just you know, I don't feel comfortable with sharing them because they don't hit every time. They hit sometimes, but not every time. And so there will be times where I throw them on an image and it's got to be just right for it to look decent. And so it's just not up and running right now, but I'm hoping it's something that I can actually get going pretty soon. And yeah, I'm hoping to win that Evan Raft XH2 or XH1 with that 35f2 he has on there. That'll be nice for me. I'd really appreciate that. I'm still looking at purchasing the Fujifilm 50mm f2. I'll figure that out after this first shoot that I do for his graduation photos to see if I need it, because I don't think I will, because most likely I'm gonna have my 18 f2 as my everything, my environmental lens. My 35 1.4 will be the portrait lens, because I love the 50mm focal length for taking photos of people, and the 50 f2 will just be, you know, that'll just be something to have in my back pocket. Maybe if I'm getting more of a mostly headshot and I want that compression behind them, that'll probably what I use it for. But yeah, there's not really anything else that I have to say. I didn't think much about the camera being with me today. I took a couple photos, like I said, but the biggest thing was just spending time with my fiance. That was probably the most important thing. And so I didn't even think about taking photos or documenting everything, because I was enjoying being in the moment. And that's one of the things, especially for those of you who are really into Instagram, who are really into you know, all these other social media outlets and things, and even on YouTube, is you know, I've only been doing this for a couple of weeks, but I've caught myself now recently thinking like, well, maybe I can get some shots of this so I can put these up. But you know what? There's nothing I need to put up. I'm fine with being in the moment, and you know, when I really want to document something, using my camera for that, I'm not going to pressure myself into you know, being creative in an unnatural way. And I much more enjoy the moments and the laughs and things that we have, me and my fiance, whenever we're hanging out, more than forcing something so that I can show people on the internet. So yeah, so that's it, man. Don't force it. If you don't like the way I do videos, these aren't reviews, so you can kick rocks and check the door, bro. And yeah, if you own a lens and you own a camera body and you're watching a review of it or someone talk about it and you want sample images, go take them yourself and then share them with us and let us know how it goes. Other than that, man, everything's going good. It's 9:04 here in Texas, and have a good one.